Excellent. Good morning, everybody. I don't know why Kara doesn't like in the intro music, but I don't think she does, but I probably just because it's old. It's just because I was a trombone player growing up. So the instrument has a special place in my heart. I'm so sorry, but it's just the way it goes. But hey, everybody, welcome to, what day is this? Wow, it's Thursday. Welcome to TLD Cast, Training, Learning, and Development Cast. We are the TLDC, the Training, Learning, and Development Community Conference, Cast, and Chat. Don't forget to hit us up on the website. Become a member. If you've been hanging out a few times and you're starting to get some excellent value out of the work that we do here at TLDC, hit that member button and join. It really does help out with us keeping this thing alive and keeping the infrastructure up and running. And it also tells us that you really like what we're doing and want us to continue. So thank you to everybody who has joined and become a member so far and supported the work that we're doing here at TLDC. Click that invite button also and tell all your friends and neighbors and relatives about how fun it is to hang out for an hour and do some professional development with some really fun folks. We have different conversations every single day. We sometimes go off the rails, but we try our best to stay on the rails. And we try our best to even define the rails. And sometimes that doesn't even happen. But, it's a mixed bag. It's a box of chocolates. You just never know how awesome it's going to be from day to day. So one thing that makes it more fantastic than other days is when we have great guests. Like today, we have the wonderful and amazing Andrew Hughes. Good morning, Andrew.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Brent, thanks for the intro, man.
Yeah, you know what? Thanks for hanging out with us again today. I always love chatting with you, and you're so busy. It's hard to get on your calendar. So it's like, well, I'm just going to book him for TLD Cast, and then I'll get to chat with him.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, it's been a little nuts, but that's okay. Busy is good.
Yeah.
I'm the person, if I'm not busy, I get myself in trouble. So
yeah, let's keep you out of trouble. Your wife will send us a check.
Oh, you know it. You know it.
Brent,
she was already like, who do we send the expense account to for the Phoenix conference? I was like, yeah, you're not sending anything for that.
Yeah, good times, though. Good times for sure. Hey, everybody, thanks for joining us today. If you've got questions, you can drop those questions into the chat. And if you've got an official question, you can either use the Ask a Question feature underneath the video, or our wonderful volunteer group will grab that out of the chat and put it in there. But I think maybe in order for you guys to generate some questions, some of you maybe have no idea who this guy is. So Andrew, give us a little intro. Who the heck are you?
Yeah, sure. I'm Andrew Hughes. That was easy. I wear quite a few hats. I am the president of Designing Digitally. We are an e-learning, serious game, training simulation, and mobile learning company. We build custom content for Fortune 1000 companies. And then I'm also a professor at the University of Cincinnati, where I teach in the business department. And I'm part of the business law tech department. I teach digital technologies in business. I teach sales. I teach principles of advertising, marketing. I used to teach interactive media before I obtained my MBA, and then they moved me to the business department. So I get a lot of digital technology in business, or maybe some interactive media or CIS programmers that want to learn more about how business works. So I actually get a lot of those classes, which I don't talk a lot about when we're all together, because it's mostly about learning and development in the corporate space, which is what Designing Digitally does. And then on top of that, I have a handful of things. Like for personal, I have 2 kids, as you Brett knows, and I play men's flags football with competitive football players. And this is cool, so that everybody knows. Last night, 2 of the Jets practice team players were playing with us last night, which was really, really cool. So we actually were playing flag football with some of the Jets practice players last night, which was really cool. And then on top of that, my wife and I own a property company, and we have apartment complexes throughout Dayton and Cincinnati that we manage. But where I come from is I come from a very, very, very tiny town that actually Craig cybered, and it's called Bonsville, Ohio. And Brett, how do I share my screen here, man?
You have to install the little screen share widget.
Oh, give me a second.
Yeah, it does only take just a second. But while you're doing that, I'll drop in the link that Craig just shared.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Wikipedia. Yeah, do that. Show that to everybody if you could. I want to make sure that I share it. So if you guys see, yeah. So if you see this picture on the right, if you click on that picture, okay. I just want to point out to everyone, the entire village is in that one picture. So Craig's family lives there. My family lives there. That's the whole town. The school is there. There used to be a carryout. There used to be a bar. There used to be a grocery.
I don't even think you guys have a stoplight going through there, do you?
We do not have a stoplight, my man. There's a stop sign. We got a stop sign.
Wow. Well, so we like to keep things low tech around here, so it's good.
Yeah, I'm just saying. So for all of you that are like, oh, well, I'm from a small town and now I do this, I don't really think you know the definition of small town unless you can literally live within a square mile.
I love the stat of largest per capita IDs of any town.
Yeah, but you know what? He's probably right. He probably nailed it. We should literally start the instructional designers for Ohio.
The Vaughnsville ID chapter of TLDC, we'll call it.
Right. I think that would actually be a great idea because, Craig's come from there. I actually know quite a few people. There's another friend of mine that's from the other town on the other side of the fields, and he actually is pretty successful in the learning and the L&D space, but he's in the K through 12 realm. Oh. So Ohio's known for educators. That's what we crank out. Hey, I installed the app, but let's see what happens because it wanted me to reload. And
you might have to refresh your browser, and you can do that. It's okay. You won't go away. You'll pop right back in.
All right, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
At least I think he will. Hey, it's not dead air. I'm still here.
Woo! I'm back.
Yeah, there he is. Okay, I'm going to unshare my video. There we go. Now it's all you, man.
All right. Okay. Woohoo! So, actually, guys, what I was thinking about is I'd kind of like to talk a little bit about a handful of different topics that I see. And we can kind of open this up to the floor. The first thing I'm going to talk about is some of the cool R&D work that we're doing at Designing Digitally. And what I mean by that is our primary focus is like gamified e-learning and serious game development. So I'll be showing you kind of some cool stuff that's coming out of our studio. And then also we can have some of that conversation over, business and what it was like to be a freelancer, because Designing Digitally started with me as a freelance e-learning developer in Flash, in HTML, and then grew to the company that we are today. And that has been a huge thing, because as you just saw the small town I came from, it's not like those are not fancy houses in that small town, anybody. So it's not, I don't have a big venture capital sitting around and a bunch of money laying around. So we've had to build this bootstrap basically. So we can have some.
You've been in the industry for a long time. I mean, I think that's the real key here, is for everybody to know. It's like you come with some serious clout to this business. You've seen the changes. You've built the products. You've worked with customers. You understand the business side that the clients you work with, that they're dealing with. You've solved the problems from that sort of initial, instructional design, learning and development, that e-learning development platform. And now with designing digitally, you've really significantly leveled up to doing that advanced interactive training that we know is so much more impactful and effective than just clicking that next button.
What's funny is that actually is the reason why I started designing digitally. So I was working right out of college, I was hired by an e-learning company, and I was developing e-learning mostly for Procter & Gamble and Albertsons. And then I moved to Cincinnati and was working for an e-learning company building for GE turbine engine plant here in Cincinnati. And at the same time, I was teaching interactive media at the Art Institute at night. So I've always had 2 jobs because I'm insane, and
that's just how you roll.
And so what ended up happening is I was basically making glorified PowerPoints online, and it drove me nuts. And I said, there's got to be a better way. So with that said, the company I was working for tried to put me under a non-compete. And the reason why is GE was actually interested in the possibility of bringing me on for them. And so it scared the company. They tried to put me on a non-compete. And I said, no way, not doing that. And so I walked away and started designing digitally. And that was in 2006. We went incorporated. And that's kind of how it started. Now, what we do is a lot of high-end learning development work. Like Brent was talking about, we will have clients that have a serious business problem, and then we will relate it back to the business. And what I mean by that is instead of just building something that we feel might meet the learning objectives, we'll take it a step farther and say, okay, we met these learning objectives, so how are we going to see the business impact? So are we going to do a control group with you to see how well this is done compared to the outside of the control group? And we take it farther than just, hey, here's your module, see ya. Yeah. And so it takes a lot more time. It's more of an investment, but they actually see the business impact. And then there's nobody in the executive realm that can turn around and say, well, we shouldn't do that again, because we're sorry, we just proved that this is effective.
Yeah, and it works great. Let's take a look at one of these things you've got. You've been working on some really interesting stuff. You were kind enough to give me a little preview last week and show me a few things because of some work I had coming up. And man, always blows me away the cool stuff you guys are working on.
Yeah, we got some pretty neat stuff. So this is one that we were just allowed to release, and I'm sorry that the video is kind of choppy. But what this is a browser-based immersive virtual environment for HP that actually is basically a mix between Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and you working inside of the servers. So you're actually an avatar working inside of the servers. And right now, all those people with hats are actually data. And your job is to figure out why the firewall will not let that data inside of there. And so what you're doing is conceptually learning how to troubleshoot Blade servers through HP's, instead of being so literal, because we already made a repository of all these videos where you literally pull out the mezzanine cards and you do this. But believe it or not, what ends up happening is they get the literal part, but they wanted something a little more fun and engaging. So we actually developed out all of the C7000, C9000 training for HP in this game-based virtual environment system that they can actually play with each other. There are quests, and they can actually interact and play these quests together or just by themselves to learn how to utilize HP Blade servers and work with them a little bit better.
That is so cool. I did not see that one coming.
Dude, and I'm not being pompous. There's just so many cool ones. Okay, so here's another one.
You guys, like I said, I mean, always some great stuff. You've got such skilled developers that they're very
talented.
Man.
They're very talented. So here's one that we're finishing up right now, and this is the first take of the actual case study video. But we had a client that works in construction. This is a construction company, and what they wanted to do, and I'll repeat this so everybody sees it, is this is an augmented reality game that they can actually play either over their phone or on the webcam together. They already have classroom experiences, and what ends up happening is this is a resource allocation. You have two projects going on, and you have to determine on who and what resources to use where to ensure that you can get the projects done with inside a budget and on time. And rather than it just being a computer game, these guys do a classroom training, so we actually developed it out as an augmented reality piece that they could play, show over the phone while they move cards.
Okay, so hold on right there. You go so fast, and I'm going to stop you right there because that stuff is too cool for us to just run on by and just say, yeah, that's cool. So what we were looking at there literally was cards on a table, but they were viewing the cards through the camera
or their webcam.
And it's the augmented reality that puts those 3D characters on top of the cards. Correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. So think about doing like Dungeons and Dragons, like the D&D. Think about doing D&D, but using, having your phone over it and actually being able to see what happens after you roll your die. So what we wanted to do is actually allow them to have a card game, because this was a classroom setting, have a card game that they could actually interact with the card game, but utilize technology at the same time and show, take it to a different level of immersion. For them to learn how to do resource allocation while building two construction projects with the same staff and the same resources. And in what stage and how do you use it and where do you use it? So you're just seeing a preview of some of it.
Oh, that is just so cool, man. I love it. I love it.
That's some of the fun, cool stuff. Another one that you and I have spoken about is we actually put this out for free. We were working with a gas and energy company, Dominion, to develop out training. And this training was safety for electrical line workers. And the safety for electrical line workers, what we ended up doing is developing out a VR project using the HTC Vive and the Oculus Rift. And we had training inside of this, but here's what you should know. What we ended up doing is building the training for you to learn while you're doing the VR on how to cut the trees down, where to cut them, so that they didn't hurt or damage any residential property or any electrical lines or hurt yourself. But then after we finished the project with Dominion, they actually said, hey, because we asked, we're like, could we possibly just take out the part where you freely cut the trees and put that out on Steam just to show people you can use VR for learning. And the reason why is I'm a big component about show your work. That's why I'm showing you guys these examples. But I have all these people I see that are presenting on this stuff, but I don't see any of their case studies. So my biggest thing is, like, I would love to see a rule that says you must have your own case study before you can present on that material. And that, I think, is something very important. So what we did is we're show us with your work, not with your words. So for us, this is one of the examples. You actually play this free on Steam, and basically all you can do, you don't get the learning aspect part because that's Dominion's content, but you do get the ability to freely cut the trees down to see what happens as consequence.
And I will say it is quite fun to be able to just freely cut trees down at random however you want.
It's fun, and understand that it has what I think is funny is it's mixed reviews on Steam, but again, all we did is put out for free. It costs nothing, just to show, look, this is doable. Just
the possibility. I mean, it's fantastic. I think people get a little bit too intense and in their reviews of anything online, really, when they don't understand the real context of of what's up there and whatnot. But it's funny, as you were talking about this again, I'm reminded of Yaroon and his current job. He deals with line workers, I believe. The company he's at trains the electrical workers that climb the poles, maybe not the guys that cut the trees. But that's where he works. And I thought, I wonder, I can't remember if I told him about the chop and drop, simulation or not, but we definitely have to share this with him. I don't think he's in the chat today, but
tell him it's free on Steam. Go try it out. And that's the thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I think he'd be really interested in seeing that. All right, cool. What's up next?
All right, man, check this one out. Again, I'm showing you Flashy, and I'm going to pull back after we get in with Flashy because what you guys are seeing is all the R&D projects. I would say probably 80% of our work is gamified e-learning and serious games, custom based around scenario based serious games that are going into learning management systems. So the stuff I'm showing you now is like the cool flashy stuff that we do, but there's still the entire production of what you would consider a step above traditional e-learning, but the stuff I'm showing you here is the fun stuff.
Like 5 or 10 steps above traditional e-learning.
Yeah, well, we like to do fun stuff, okay? Fun must be a metric with us. Okay, so this one, you guys, this was from this was a grant through the National Institute of Health, and we partner with Barron Associates, which is a research agency. This is a two funded by the NIH. The first was $150,000 to build a prototype, and then the second was $1 million to actually build the product. And we won both phases with Barron Associates as our partner. And what we did is we actually built this game-based experience for people that have had strokes, hurt their arms, or any type of thing where they have to do occupational therapy or physical therapy. What you're looking at is we took the Microsoft Connect 1 and the Microsoft Connect 2 and developed out these simulated games. And you're probably wondering why would be making breakfast be a game. I'll explain that in a minute.
Oh, I can tell you that. My wife's an occupational therapist. She does home health care, so I know all of this.
Then you're going to love this, man, because this is what we did.
I'm looking at this going, oh my gosh, I have to show this to Linda. She's going to just freak out.
I hope she would like it, and I can share you the material, and you guys she can actually buy it for her occupational therapy division or her room. And I'll explain that. So basically what you guys are looking at down here in the bottom corner right here is actually one of our employees, Greg. And what is happening is that's the Microsoft Connect output of what you see, what the Connect sees. And what's happening is Greg's only moving his arm because if he had a stroke, he needs to learn how to reuse his arm without any weights or anything of that nature to get the 6 axes of motion back into your arms. So what we're doing is the first kind of experience. And here's what we did when we were doing the focus groups with the research agency, which is Barron Associates. We found that a lot of these people that have had issues with their mobility of their arms want to be able to do the things they used to be able to do, like make themselves breakfast, put away their groceries. And then we built really cool games like hot air balloon. So you like move your arms like this to move the hot air balloon through obstacle courses and cool stuff like that. So we've done all of those, but this gives you kind of an idea of what we did for them. And then the way that this works is since this was an NIH grant, this actually got to be built as a product, and it's now sold to the hospitals to be used as an occupational therapy tool inside of the hospitals. Now, here's the cool part. Like I said, I love to put my money where my mouth is, and I love to show examples because anybody can talk about doing a project. Here is that project in action in the hospital with a patient. So we built these carts, the Connect 2, the small computer running the system, and here he is practicing it. So this just gives you guys kind of an idea of some of the cool R&D work that's coming out of our studio. They love doing this stuff, but it's not all the work that we do. But I did want to show you guys this because this is literally seeing a project in action being used at a hospital and being used by an actual real patient.
Yeah, this is fantastic. But before we move on to the other stuff, let's talk a little bit about some of the tech behind this, because I know and some people may not appreciate or want to go down this road, but let's just take a few minutes and just kind of geek out with us a little bit. So what are we talking about as far as the software that you guys use to create this kind of stuff?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so if I'm talking about Voda, this was built with C+, or C#, JavaScript, PHP. It's got MySQL databases that it connects to that are online, so we can save all the data of the 6 axes of motion because we got to be able to provide a result of their movement and their improvement of movement, not just, hey, go play this. Again, that's the step above that I'm talking about, rather than just, hey, cool, we built this for you. Go try it out. Let's see if it does something. So we actually have to track the degrees of axis of motion and prove and show that through the ERPs or the health reports of how this actually has improved their abilities. For the technology, C#, MySQL databases, JavaScript, then also Unity 3D, the gaming engine, then the Microsoft Connect SDK, the Microsoft Connect collaborator, and then the programming of the Connect to be the interactive controller inside of Unity. So that's how that one worked. The same one when you were looking at the AR build, we actually developed that utilizing C#, JavaScript, and then build an APK, which is an iOS file out of it. The animation was done in Maya. An Android output, the extension for an Android.
Oh, that's for the mobile one. Okay, yeah, cool.
Yeah. The mobile side, we just exported them out as iOS and Androids, and we're doing the 3D animation, and then it's actually the augmented system. It runs on top of all of that actually then provides the data overlay for you to see, and that's all written in C# and JavaScript. That's how the guys built that one.
Yeah, that's so cool. So you know what might be interesting. I'm running up on my 30-minute break that I need to take, but yes. I'm curious. Like this is really high-end stuff, and not every instructional designer or training developer is gonna want to run down this road. But if somebody were to say, "Wow, this is the kind of thing I really want to get into," because you're working with these guys all the time that have these skills, do you have any recommendations at all as to what do you think people should learn next? Should they learn C#? Should they learn Unity? Should they, start going down this path at all?
I think JavaScript. And the reason why is, here's what I think is really cool about the industry. JavaScript. Okay, so back when I was working at these other e-learning companies before Flash really took off as the e-learning medium, we were building this as HTML files and with JavaScript. And so when I was first hired, I was literally building HTML, like page1.html, page2.html, and then adding JavaScript questions and drag and drops using JavaScript. Then what happened is Flash came in, and we all jumped on Flash, and we started building all of our interactive media than Flash. Now, all of a sudden, we said, no more Flash, HTML5. We went straight back to JavaScript. So literally, we are back to where we were. It's just that HTML has evolved to allow us to do more interaction. So, I'll explain one. You guys, everybody is excited about the ADAPT framework. Has everybody heard about the ADAPT framework?
Oh, yeah.
Multiple choices. Okay, so I have an example of that I can show in a minute, but I can tell you this right now. All it is JavaScript and HTML. That's all ADAPT is. So you literally could build that if you just grab snippets from. It's a web page. It's building a web page for you. It's not as lucrative as we might think it is.
Wow, amazing. Well, hey, listen, when we come back, I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna show some more examples and some stuff that others might even be able to do or to learn from or to see. But while I'm taking this break, you can jump into the chat and say hi to some folks. You can even check out the question that's in there if you need to prep for that. And I'll be back to you in just 2 minutes.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. And I'm gonna close your window share because I'm gonna throw up my own real quick here.
Go for it, buddy. I'm gonna load some stuff up anyways.
All right, cool. But anyways, hey, while I'm doing this, everybody knows that my favorite part about the halftime show here is just saying thank you to everybody for being a part of the community, and those folks who step up and volunteer and help us go that extra mile as well to be a part of TLDC. We really, really appreciate that. Craig, Kara, all of you who jump in on a regular basis, Mike and Deborah drops in a lot, and Claudine, and just everybody that hangs out with us and supports us. Mark, you're in here so much and such a great contributor. Josh as well. It's good to see you again, Josh. Haven't seen you in a while. Trish, is here as well. Just thanks so much, everybody. You guys are fantastic. Again, you know, TLDC, the biggest C word in what we do is community, and we wouldn't be doing this if you guys weren't engaged and weren't getting some value from it. So thank you all so much for everything that you do and being a part of this great community and as it grows. So we really appreciate all of that and all the support that you give us in so many different ways. Don't forget about all of our sponsors, especially today with our fantastic guest, Andrew Hughes, and his company, Designing Digitally. I just had his website up here. They do such fantastic work, like you are all being able to see. So if you probably already knew, if you came to TLDC 18, you probably met Andrew and knew that he was doing some great work in his presentation and everything, but maybe you just really didn't know to the level at which they took this kind of stuff. So you're getting a lot of that here today, and just know that they are easy to get a hold of, and that you guys should hit up his website. And if you want a deeper demo specifically for, a project that you're working on, something that you want to do, maybe you want to figure out a way to amp up the click next learning that you're currently doing. You don't have the skills in-house, and you want to take a step outside and grab an agency like Designing Digitally to take your learning to the next level. Then you should definitely hit them up and just see, right? It's worth having a conversation to see how you can get that done. The creativity of their solution designers is top notch. So you guys can at least go through that process with them, which is fantastic. So I would highly encourage you to do that. You know what I also wanted to do in this break too is just tell everybody about maybe what you missed and what's coming up in the future. We started this XAPI playlist, and the idea of doing a playlist, man, we went for 4 hours on Monday and talked just about XAPI stuff, and it went really, really well. I mean, if you want to get a very focused, good look at what XAPI can do, that's a great recording that you can go back to each of those sessions and that event as a whole and take a listen there. We also chatted with Janet Clary. You can go back and watch that recording. And I wasn't here yesterday, so for those of you that get bored by listening to me, you probably had a great time yesterday with our stand-in host, Toddy Norum, as they talked about the aging workforce. And then, of course, we have today's guest, Mr. Andrew Hughes. And tomorrow, Lee Lefevre from Common Craft is going to be on Video Friday. So that's going to be tons of fun as well. And then also further out, next Friday, I'm going to be live from Mindspace again, which is going to be a lot of fun as well. So we're doing a lot of great stuff around here at TLDC. Share it with your friends. Let them know. Click that invite button and join the Slack channel to continue these conversations. There are a lot of really active conversations going on right now. People talking about their projects that they're working on. They're looking for suggestions and some ideas, and you can do the same. And you can also be helpful to your peers. That's what we're all about. So sharing your knowledge, sharing what you know, and jumping in and making that happen. So with that, I will again say thank you all for being a part of what we're doing here at TLDC, and we'll jump right back in to Andrew and Designing Digitally and some great case studies. The real thing. Oh, you're muted. I'll unmute you. Oops.
There we go.
You do it.
There we go. What's up, guys?
Perfect. Now we're back.
I appreciate it. I showed some really cool R&D stuff. I'm going to show just one or two more cool R&D things. Cool. Then what we'll do is we will kind of move on to some of the more what I would consider not as well, they're flashy, but not as flashy projects, okay? More like down to earth of what is hitting the rubber in the road with a lot of our corporate clients. But first, I want to give a shout out to Melissa Malloway for showing us A-Frame. The reason why is we have had a demand from customers for 360 interactive learning experiences. So what you're looking at is about 3 to 4 months ago, we took it upon ourselves to, purchase the 3D cameras and actually develop out interactive learning experiences. And we have 2 clients right now that we're actually doing full builds for, but I'm not allowed to show them. But what they are is just what you're seeing here, which is the actual virtual tour of our office. So this is our brick and mortar office here at Designing Digitally. What you're able to do is actually go from room to room, to office. Here's
Can you say hi to the people?
No, you can't say hi since it's 4K 360 pictures, but you can kind of see our location and our team. So here's my the sales guys hanging out in their office. And then you can see me. Now, here's what you should know. I work in a closet. This is where I am right now. And the reason why is I have no windows. So sadly, I've had to make my own. So I bought this big wallpaper thing. There's a window over here. So basically, I'm in a closet. I have no idea what the weather's like, so don't ask me.
That window, it looks real. I tell you, it looks like you've got a really beautiful glass view of the world outside.
It keeps me from going insane, that's for sure. So a couple other things. We are a democracy company. We'll talk about this later, but we provide all free snacks, so the team can request anything, and we purchase it for them. And then this is Sydney. And then we're also a dog-friendly office. So if I take you into the conference room here in a second, I don't know why my computer is taking so long. There we go. But there is dogs that come to the office every single day. So here's Louie. This is our conference room. And there's Twiggy. We have a Great Dane that comes in the office. We have a Pit that comes in the office, and we have a miniature poodle. We also, each week, we do questions to the team. And every Monday, there's a new question. So this is what do we need to focus on as a team? And it tells it, and everybody can just walk by and write something down. And then we collect these and go back every quarter and look to see what we need to do. And then there's Mario all over. Here's the project manager's office. There's Nick, there's Elizabeth, and then John wasn't sitting at his desk. Poor John. Doesn't even get in the pictures. We have Nerf guns everywhere. But the coolest thing is here's the studio. So this is the talented team.
Yeah.
Jay, Mike, Brent, Greg, Sammy, Carly, Crystal, Brianna, Sydney. And then we have a 40-foot mural of Pac-Man all over the wall that was painted by Mike's wife when we first moved into this building. And then clear over here is a humongous Great Dane named Twiggy, and she lays there almost every day.
That's great.
So
I missed that when I went through and did that tour on the video when I was checking it out. I missed the Great Dane.
You never see her. And then this is my right-hand girl. My wife works here, and I think that's funny. But my wife is Abby, and she's our director of business affairs. But this is Brittany. This is who I work with every day. She's our marketing manager. And yeah, that's our office. But I have to give a shout out to Melissa, because she was like, hey, everybody should check out A-Frame. So we decided to run with it and try it out. So if you guys get a chance, check out A-Frame, and you could buy these pictures that you see here were purchased over $150 Samsung 360 camera. So it's not like you have to invest thousands upon thousands of dollars in a camera to get a really nice look.
And A-Frame is open source, right?
Yep, completely open source and free. Yep.
So are there other options though? I mean, were you looking at something else before you discovered A-Frame?
We did. See, okay, so I will just tell you guys some of the limitations that we found. You cannot, with the videos compared to the stills, so these are stills, so these are actually looked at as like images, panoramic images. The 360 videos are much more complicated. You need a 360 video player. The A-Frame 360 video player does not work on the iPhone, on Chrome, or Safari. So you have to have the player from like YouTube and then embed it into your Storyline build if you build it in Storyline to even get it to play on a phone. And the
Okay.
reason why is we all know how this is. Build it once and we all want it on every device, and we complain if it doesn't. So that's one of the things that you guys need to keep in mind if you guys use A-frame.
Cool. Yeah, good to know.
So
Cool. I wonder, has anybody else in the chat used A-frame? Just curious. Like you said, I know Mel has messed around with it. I was just wondering if anybody else had done it. But yeah, I mean, and what camera was that you had? Like, so
it was the Samsung, the 4K. I forget what it's called. The 360.
Basically, just the 360 video, right?
Yeah.
And would it take images from any camera? So like, there's that Ricoh 360, that the little stick thing. Would that work?
Yep. You can get the Ricoh stick. Yep. And it all works with the A-frame system. So A-frame is basically an open source system. And again, Melissa's way smarter than me into this, but you can actually do a lot with those 360 videos using A-frame. So this is A-frame, and it's a repository of code that you can use to, work on developing out your system with 360 videos or images. Cool. So there it is. So, and you can just use the code and start messing with it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. So, how hard was it to put it together? Like, is this the type of thing that someone's really gonna have to geek out on, or with A-frame, does it really make it a little bit easier?
JavaScript and HTML, and you're good to go, man. So again, it all comes circling back to what was happening before Flash came in. Basically, become web developers, kind of like interactive media web developers.
Yep.
So let me show you guys a couple rubber hit the road kind of things so that you guys can see it.
Do it.
Anybody that wants to check this out, this is actually online. It's called learningonthego.net. And this is for Bridgestone. And this gets over 15,000 hits a month. And what this is external training for somebody that works at Sears that may be selling Bridgestone tires. And what it is it's a fully responsive. And what I mean by responsive, I mean completely responsive. This wasn't built in my Captivator storyline. But this is focused around being for the mobile phone. And what it is actually a resource guide and a reference guide for them to choose particular tires, depending on what the customer is looking for. And then on top of that, it has selling scenarios, knowledge checks and selling scenarios for you to actually understand the situation of how to sell these particular tires. And, let's say they're looking for retread tires, they can go in and start some of these selling scenarios that they've seen in the past and actually practice this and see how well they do. This was built completely with HTML5 and PHP and JavaScript and MySQL databases. But this is public consumption. It's free from Bridgestone. And it's been one of the most successful external sales tools, sales training tools for Bridgestone. So, wow. And again, so this is a little more rubber hits the road from us. And as you can see, it's fully responsive. So it's not adaptive. So you can check it out on your mobile phone, and it works great. Another one.
Do you do any sort of tracking for that, since it's public and all? Do you care about the tracking and all that?
We do. Like we have. What did we use? Node.js for Josh. What we ended up doing is developing out. We did not use XAPI because we don't really need to when it's a website. We can actually track that stuff with like analytical data, and we can set goals. Like we want one user to go to this, one user to go to this, and we want to see how many users went to that. So we can actually set all that up using the PHP and the MySQL database, so that we don't have to do the XAPI LRS to an LMS, because this is an external tool. So all we had to do was build an admin backend portal and then work with figure out what
like analytics or something for even, right?
Have that on top of that, but we want to know a little bit more, not just
okay. You're drilling more deeply. That's why you got your own in there. Gotcha.
Yeah, so they get the customer, Bridgestone gets every month the Google Analytics automatically. We set that up. That's pretty easy to do. That takes like an hour. And then we add the additional analytics so they can go in as an administrator and see additional stuff that we couldn't see from analytical information. Another one, we were asked to do like fully responsive interactive timelines. So what you're looking at is one that we did for Athena Health. And it's all dynamic so that it works. And the way that it works is you're looking at the demo version. I can't show you the full version. But what ends up happening is this is actually an interactive learning module where we're tracking what they've done, not just that they've clicked, but they've actually watched this video. They do the interactive knowledge check. We're utilizing X API for that, and then putting that into an LRS, and then showing that stuff through a portal. So it's just one where we're doing a lot more back end than front end on these efforts, and then making explainer videos, things like that. Another one that I think's pretty cool, the U.S. Department of Transportation Maritime Administration, we developed out this custom learning, we call them learning tracking systems, because with a learning management system or CMS, they can add more courses. This one is set up for any large ship that's going to be docking in the United States must log on online, take these courses to be qualified to dock their ship on United States docks. And this started this year. So it started in January. And it's basically level 2 traditional e-learning modules, but every single ship captain and owners of those ships must take this training through the United States and through this website. So we manage, we've developed everything for the MARAD Department of Transportation, and we maintain it for them.
So you mentioned you used the term level 2 learning modules. Can you give us a little bit more extent on that, or skip it altogether? What?
No, I don't mind. We have levels of production here, and those level of production, a level 2 for us is a traditional e-learning module.
Okay.
So presentation style, closed captioning, interactive knowledge checks, drag and drop multiple choices, things like that. What you would see in traditional e-learning development is our level 2.
And so some of the more advanced stuff then is what you would term level 5, level 6, level 7, however many levels you have. That's just how you refer to the different products that you have available to customers, right?
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly how we approach the learning too.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Cool.
Not to give it all away, but it's aligned on Bloom's taxonomy too for our approach and things like that.
Yeah.
Now, here's one that's been a huge success. If you guys get a chance, this is drivevermont.vermont.gov. This is dated. This is probably 2010. But here's the reason why I want to show you guys this. We took the permit packets that you had when you were going to get your driver's license, or if you have kids that are about to get their driver's license, they get the newspaper packet to learn about how to drive in that state. And what they found is nobody is actually reading those. So what we ended up doing is converting it into an interactive learning experience for these kids to utilize. And then we got the state of Vermont to actually add a question to the quiz, to the permit exam, asking if they took this. And then over the span of 5 years, we were able to see that we, by building this and implementing it for the state of Vermont, increased the passing rate throughout the entire state of Vermont by 35%. And we have that as a press release from the Department of Transportation, or from the DMV.
Wow, that's great. You know what? Arizona could use that. You should send it to some of our DMV folks.
It's I can tell you the interesting thing about this is it has to be custom built for each each state. And the reason why is like we're doing one and we're finishing it up right now for the state of Delaware, and it's so different, the regulations, even though their states are right beside each other, that while it would be nice to blanket one for everybody, it's nearly impossible. Just because.
All right. Well, custom work, that's all right. With our tax dollars, I'm sure they could scrounge up some money to do it for each one of the states for you. Hey, listen, before you jump into your next demo, let me just ask the question in the Q&A here real quick. Craig is chomping at the bit to get your answer on this. So do you think that VR, AR is the future of training as a whole, a good choice to use sometimes, or just going to fade away?
Oh, that's a good question. Here's what I think is going to happen. We are now seeing the technology. Okay, so right now the Rift and the Vive that are out right now are wired to a computer that has a very heavy VR video card. And those things cost a fortune. And that's the issue with VR. If you're going to do spatial VR, you're not going to do 360 camera video VR. There are two different things. So that 360 tour that I showed you, that's what happens when you take your cell phone and you slap it in one of those Google Cardboards or one of those things your kid has and walks around. That is considered like video, immersive video to me. That's not real VR. Real VR is the HTC Vive, the Oculus Rift, where you see 3-dimension and I go like this and I about hit something, or I feel like I can grab something. I don't have that ability on my flat computer screen. So 360 video is going to continue to become more and more popular. Augmented reality is going to become more and more popular because we're all about data, but the problem is, as human beings, we can't sparse that data enough ourselves. So why not use augmented reality to let that data sparse it for us? Virtual reality will be very popular as soon as the price comes down and the technology becomes more mobile. What I think is going to happen, if you were going to look out long term, let's say 20 years, I think our cell phones will be on our wrists, and I think we'll all be wearing hologram glasses and look like Spock. Or I'm not Spock. Who am I talking about? Reading Rainbow guy. Come on.
Oh yeah.
Reading Rainbow. That's how I know him.
But it's not Data Jordy.
Yeah. I know him by Reading Rainbow, y'all. Not Reading Rainbow. That's my dude. All right. So I personally think what's going to end up happening is we're going to, it's LeVar. Thanks, Louise. I personally think we're going to end up with kind of like holographic augmented reality glasses that we kind of see as a standard rather than just, oh, look at this guy with this goofy looking glasses on. And then I think right now, I state this in all my presentations, I left my cell phone at home. And I'm not really that concerned about it because like we're addicted to those things and they're so cumbersome. I got to put that thing in my pocket. I got to put that thing in like it's not easy to handle. So I think our cell phones will be attached to our wrists so we can be hands-free with our phones.
And then when you can get that same data, right? When we're starting to wear sunglasses that are so unobtrusive and light, that you can get that alternate reality or augmented reality of everything, all that data that we're now staring at a screen for. Once that data starts getting presented right in front of us, then it becomes a lot easier, and that becomes much more of a reality, which I know people are working on.
Yeah, I think we're going to see that. And I think within the next, as you guys know, technology doubles every 2 years. So my guess is in the next 2 years, you'll see it. I see it with like the Oculus is coming out with a new smaller handheld type of version. But the problem still is, even if they use Bluetooth or something to travel that technology so you're more free about moving, our computers, the computer and the technology and the VR things need to be more powerful and smaller for us to be able to do that. Until they can get the VR video cards the size of a phone, we're still going to have a lot of that problem.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, and Molly, you're right. Contacts, right? All of the technology to put in a contact lens, that's going to be pretty cool.
I have, Deborah, I have 2 cell phones. One is my work, one is my personal, and at all times they're both usually in my hands. But on my way here today, I forgot to bring them both, and I actually feel kind of good. I feel liberated.
Except your wife, I'm sure, is wondering, how come I can't get a hold of Andrew?
Oh, well, she knows. She knows Google Hangouts is where to find me. I just gave away my secret. Everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, he's on Google Hangouts. I'm gonna get him there."
All right, sorry for that little tangent. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that real quick. So, so what's this next one here?
Okay, so this one that you guys are looking at that I'm kind of clicking through, this is for Longhorn Darden, which is the owners of Olive Garden, of Red Lobster, of Longhorn. A lot of their learning was traditional, presentation style learning. And so they came to us and said, we would like to be able to do some learning games. And we've heard you guys have done an excellent job of that. Could you help us out? And take into consideration that when we build this stuff, we look at the aptitude of the actual learner to find out, have they even played games? Why would we make a VR game for somebody that's working in a restaurant if they've never had any experience with that and there's no real purpose? With electrical line workers, it's a little bit different. There's a high risk factor there if they screw up. If you screw up something while working at the restaurant, like you forget to talk to the restaurant or the disgruntled employee the wrong way, no one is going to be electrified. So it's a little bit different. So what we do is we look at the aptitude. We also look at the technology restrictions. And what you're looking at here is actually a game. And this one's going to be at Demo Fest next week. It's so freaking cool. This is a completely randomized scenario-based game. that will actually allow you to do what's called throughput, which is you being the manager of this entire restaurant, and your job is to get these customers in there happy, fed, and out the door to see what type of profit you can make each and every night. So you're actually practicing being a manager of one of these stores or of one of these Longhorn restaurants and actually seeing the feedback. Now, what you should know is the cool part is we've used AIML dynamic chat bots for these systems, so they're not just canned responses. There's multiple different outcomes that happen. So there's about 4 to 5 different outcomes in this game-based experience. There's different outcomes for each one of the interviews that you do. There's randomized scenarios. So every single time you take this, it's completely different. So if I refresh, it's never the same scenario or story or situation. And so what I'm doing is literally giving them this tool that they can continue to use over and over. It's not a one-time learning experience and then they're done. So
nice. And what do you call this? This kind of view has a name for it, and I always forget it. It's like
we call it like top-down or godlike view.
Yeah, but there's like for a technical term, like visually graphic. It's like asymmetric or something like that. I don't know. Isometric.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Josh.
Thanks, Josh. Josh knows all the answers.
Yeah, he does. He has all of it. But I can remember how popular those kinds of games were. That isometric view and is like a side scroller and the adventure games and stuff like that. It's very cool.
Here's another one, and I'll show you guys this one really quick. This one is actually, and this will blow you guys' mind. First off, you're probably wondering, why is it like this in a square? Well, this one was for the federal government. For all of you that want to know, we were commissioned by NASA to build training over how to be a project manager at NASA, because NASA promotes engineers to project managers, which are terrible project managers. Okay? So one of the things that we ended up doing is building out this immersive training. It's about 2.5 hours of training over how to be how to actually be an effective project manager at NASA, and what to do and what the process is. And then you actually virtually go through each one of these lessons and do that actual project management process. So, and you actually interact with people. And you, right here, we're going to go under clear and understandable goals, verification and validation, interacting with employee or your staff, things like that. So I'm just clicking through because I don't want to give any content material away. But this is just another kind of example of some of the learning that we're doing. Every single time a customer comes to us, it's a different situation. And so we've done training over so many different things. Here's another one. External.
Welcome to this online training on the Ping fitting process.
Anybody a golfer here? Ping actually hired us. And you know what? This one I want to say, this one actually is one of the most successful external training tools. What happened to my video? Oh, there we go. External training tools for Ping. What this is a simulated experience. If you worked at Topgolf or you worked at Cabela's and somebody came in and said, I want to buy golf clubs, the people that are fitting you for the clubs don't work for Ping. And so they were getting fitted wrong, and they weren't enjoying the clubs, and they weren't purchasing clubs again. So what we ended up doing is building this randomized scenario base where you get a different customer each and every time, and your job is to interview them through this interview process and find out their height, their weight, their swing, their accuracy, how they play, and then they can virtually see how they're going to end up doing with that particular club. And that's done with mathematical calculations. It's not done as pre-ranged images. And the reason why is we had to work with the subject matter experts at Ping to make sure that we get this perfect. And then what happens is Ping has actually released that out, and it's been the most successful external sales tool they've ever had, or external product knowledge tool they've ever had. So
that is so cool.
Yeah, it's one of those that we had a lot of fun doing, and they were great. And then Clark Quinn, does everybody know Clark? Clark for Ping's project was the person that did some of the upfront analysis over what they needed. So it was really nice because Clark is an industry friend of mine. If you guys don't know Clark, the guy is as smart as hell. The blog posts are fantastic. But what ended up happening is it was fantastic because when the client came to us, they had already had some of the pain points and problems already analyzed by Clark. So it actually made life a lot easier. So if you guys do need strategic consulting, he is somebody that you guys can look at because he actually gave us the ability to take a step further than us starting from the complete beginning, which was refreshing.
Awesome. Hey, Andrew, we're at the top of the hour, man, and I'm gonna have to end our time together. But do you want to show us just one more real quick?
Well, I'll show you this one, but next time that we get on the line, for anybody that wants to talk like next month, what I do want to let you guys know is I think we should talk a little bit about knowledge sharing and internal knowledge sharing for our own companies. So, for instance, Andrew, as an internal effort, has been on a crusade to build a YouTube university so that knowledge of internal processes and practices are not being forgotten when somebody leaves our organization. So something we could talk about next time. And then last but not least, this is a award-winning game. It won a Serious Play Award last year. This is called Mercer's City 3000. It's a sales training game for Mercer. They're a $3 billion company over how to do their sales process. And what it is a game that went in Cornerstone. We're tracking the mastery score, which is posted to Cornerstone. But basically, it unlocks cities as you practice that sales process and do it correctly. And then at the end of each building or each company that you solve the solution for, you actually get to hear the case study from either the CEO or the executive. So cool stuff, man. And I will be at Learning Solutions next week.
Yeah, so how can people get in touch with you? I mean, I think it's pretty easy, but any special ways?
Email. I live and die by email. And I will put it in the chat, but I also can put it right here. Andrew.hughes@BD Inc. Mail or designingdigitally.com. Doesn't matter. They all go to the same place. But you guys can shoot me an email. And we can nerd it up. I will be at Learning Solutions next week. So if anybody's there and wants to stop by our booth or come hang out or come chat, let me know. Brent, I better see you there, my man.
Yeah, you will see me there. I'm going to be hanging out in the Domino booth, but I think we're close by you. So, you know, we'll be able to spend some time together for sure. And the XAPI booth, I think, is going to be there as well. So. Yeah. That's going to be fun, and yeah, lots of great stuff. So I'm looking forward to seeing your project live in the Demo Fest.
Yeah, man. Like I said, the one that'll be there is Longhorn. So if you guys want to check it out, and then we also have one more. It's called Checkers Drive-Through Challenge. So Sean, one of our team members, will be actually showing that one in the business processes. Awesome. So we have both of them in Demo Fest. So thanks everybody. Thanks for your time. Sorry I ran over.
Yeah, no, that's all right, man. I love it. Yeah, thanks everybody for hanging out today. This was a fantastic talk. I'm going to go ahead and close out your video, Andrew, and I'll say a few closing words, but you can jump into the chat, drop in whatever links you want and all that good stuff, and we will well, I'll see you in Orlando next week, but then we'll see you back here in another month or so.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, man. Take care. If I can hit the right button. All right, everybody. Thanks again, Andrew, for hanging out with us. What a fantastic showing of fantastic work. I mean, unbelievable stuff. I think heads were exploding, Andrew. You always do such a great job of showing the cool work that you guys do. And that's the kind of stuff that our industry needs to start getting really excited about, right? Not the pontificating of whether or not trends are going to be hot or aren't going to be hot or what's going on, but the real stuff that can be done right now. And that's what I love to see and why I love having you on showing this stuff. So I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day in doing all this great work and showing it to the TLDC community. Hey, everybody, we've got a great show tomorrow, so don't forget Leela Fever is going to be on from Common Craft. So get fired up for that. He is so much fun and is going to give us some great tips on video. Of course, Sam Rogers will be hosting, and the wonderful and amazing Synapse will be chatting with him, and it will be a wonderful, wonderful time. So everybody have a great day. Join us over in TLD chat for continued conversations, and we will see you all tomorrow. Everybody, go out there and do some good training. Adios.